Hey guys, this is George. I'm your IA for Psych 106, and in today's video we're going to be reviewing the structure and function of a neuron. This might be a review for some of you guys, so please bear with me. But starting off with the basic definition of what a neuron is an electrically excitable cell that transmits signals through the body. So this is just basically saying that a neuron, which is also referred to as a brain cell or a nerve cell, is a fundamental cell in our body that's used to communicate both electrical and chemical signals throughout our central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. The neuron is composed of 6 key components. First, we have our dendrites. These are branch-looking extensions that extend from the cell body. So these receive chemical signals, or you would know them as neurotransmitters, and they propagate that information down to the soma. So the soma, which is the cell body, contains the nucleus and is basically the center of the cell. The chemical messages that the dendrites just sent over to the soma are now going to be translated into an electrical message. So as that passes through the soma, it's going to reach the axon hillock, which is basically like the relay station deciding whether or not to initiate an action potential. So if an action potential threshold is reached at the axon hillock, it's going to send that information to the axon, which is that long projection site that is going to send that message to the axon terminal. So as you can see, the axon is wrapped around these coil-looking figures, which are called the myelin sheath. So the myelin sheath basically just acts as an insulator and helps for effective transmission of the signal. So it's also important to address that once a neuron does send a signal through an action potential, it can only do that. So it either sends a message or it does not send a message. This is basically the essence of the all or nothing rule. So this applies to mostly all neurons except in cases of graded potentials, which I'm not going to really focus on in this video. In the next video, I'll explain in more detail on how and why an action potential starts. So picking up where we left off, we have our axon terminal, which is known as the synaptic terminal. It contains the chemicals which are known as the neurotransmitters, which through synaptic vesicle fusion will be released into the synaptic cleft. So right over here we see our synaptic cleft. We have our presynaptic neuron on the left and our postsynaptic neuron on the right. So the synaptic cleft is basically a fluid-filled gap where neurons communicate with one another. Alright, so in our example here we have serotonin, which is the chemical slash neurotransmitter that the postsynaptic neuron is receiving. And as you can see here, it's being translated from a chemical signal into an electrical signal, and it's going to propagate throughout the soma, and basically the whole process repeats all over again. Alright, cool. Let's test your knowledge. Please feel free to pause this video and then come back when you can answer the question. Alright, so A is our dendrite. Remember that is a branch-like structure that's receiving chemical signaling through the neurotransmitters and then translating it into an electrical signal. B is our soma, which is our cell body, which relays our electrical signal to C, which is our axon hillock. And then our axon hillock decides whether or not to initiate an action potential. And if it does, it goes through the axon, but remember we have our myelin sheath, which insulates our axon for faster transmission. And then E, of course, is our axon, and that electrical signal is going to be propagated through, and then it reaches the axon terminal or synaptic terminal at F, where it will then release those neurotransmitters in the synapse or the synaptic cleft to a postsynaptic neuron. Alright, cool. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for sticking around. Hopefully this video was a little helpful. In the next video, I'll be going over the membrane potential and action potential. And until then, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much.